Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 60 of the FilmBrony Podcast. After a 2 month hiatus, we're back with a new episode. I am, of course, Nick Canino, the guy like in charge of the podcast. But as always, I'm not here alone. I got a special guest with me who created the whole podcast. So, would you like to introduce yourself?
Well, it's been a while, hasn't it? Both Nick and I have seen a lot of movies, so we have a lot to go over, both in this episode and the next episode.
Yeah. Um. And about what you said on how it's been a while. I do apologize that it that we weren't able to like do another podcast for like in July last month. I had a lot of stuff going on in my life. Like my mom got my mom got a rotator cuff surgery a couple months ago, and I and I had to like take good care of her. So that's why the podcast has been delayed for like 2 months. But thankfully, she's getting better. It's just now the only thing is that she's facing a bit of pain in her hand and shoulder. So that's why it's gonna take a while for her to recover. But she's still recovering. The good news is she can drive and like go back to work. But it's just like it that's why it took a while. But anyway, tonight 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 on this special podcast, we're going to be doing our usual stuff. As always, we're going to present our the remaining reviews that from the first half of the year, and then Søren will present his dog and pick at the show. And one last thing before we get to the Blu-ray showcase is that hold on, let me. One last thing. If you were um, I I am planning to like delay the worst and best films of the decade list so far to like this fall. Only because like I want to have enough time to like get all the material together and rewatch all the films on my best of list. That's why it's going to be delayed till this fall. But yeah,
Mm.
just thought I'd let you guys know about this. So anyway, enough rambling, and oh damn, I'm really sorry to hear that.
Uh,
Very sorry to hear that. I know what that's like, given my grandmother passed away last year. So yeah, I know what that's like. Ethan. I'm so sorry. My condolences to you.
uh,
Anyway, let's get to what we usually start with, the Blu-ray showcase.
okay. 101 Dalmatians and 101 Dalmatians 2, one of the better Disney sequels. The Adventures of Priscilla got this ahead of the Annie Circus reboot, Animal Farm. Last year's Best Picture winner, Nora.
I also have a Nora. Let me find it right here. Here it is. I love that movie.
Black Bag.
Love Black Bag. One of my favorites of this year so far.
Bottoms.
I also own Bottoms. I also own Bottoms. Here it is.
Bordeaux.
Great film.
One of Nick and I's biggest disagreements this year so far, Captain America Brave New World.
Yeah, I'm sorry, man, but I hated it.
Coneheads.
One of my biggest guilty pleasures.
Speaking of guilty pleasures, this I hear is a guilty pleasure. Cool as Ice.
Oh God, that Vanilla Ice film.
This one is certainly not a guilty pleasure. The Crying Game.
Great film.
Another one of our biggest disagreements, Death of a Unicorn.
I didn't like that film.
Deep Cover.
Great film.
Next, I have The Room of Studio Ghibli itself, Earwig and the Witch.
Oh God. Oh God. Especially, I still remember that face, like that you had as your as your pick, as your profile pick.
Yeah. Fabulous Baker Boys.
Great film.
The Duchess.
It's a good film.
Fame, the original.
And for those we also saw The Naked Gun as well, but we will review it on our next podcast next week.
Okay. The Ghost in the Darkness.
Another guilty pleasure of mine.
The Complete Harry Potter Collection.
Nice.
The Killing Fields. Last Breath. Last Man Standing and Last Boy Scout.
Nice.
Looney Tunes The Day the Earth Blew Up.
Very good film.
Lord of the Flies, the OG.
Nice.
Another movie I hear is a guilty pleasure and Paul Rudd's favorite movie, Mac and Me.
AKA McDonald's the movie.
Yeah. Mandy.
Very nice.
Next one isn't necessarily one of this director's best, but I do appreciate it for what it was trying to do, albeit flawed. Megalopolis.
I didn't like that film, honestly.
Mickey 17.
Really love that film. Right, I also have it right here. Really love that film.
A Mighty Wind.
A Christopher Guest movie.
Another
really
big
good
deal.
one.
Another huge guilty pleasure of mine, Chicken Jockey. My Dinner with Andre.
That's a great film.
Nicholas and Alexandra.
Nice.
Rat Race. September 5th.
That's a great film. One of my favorites from last year.
Shoplifters.
I still need to get that.
Sinners.
Here it is right here.
Sonic 3.
Very good film.
Stalker. True Grit, the original and the remake.
Nice.
Twin Peaks.
Nice.
And last but certainly not least, Warfare.
I also own Warfare. Here it is. All right, so hello, Mr. Lopez 2004. Welcome to the podcast. And to all joining us on this podcast too, welcome. Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and show my Blu-rays. I have a bunch of Blu-rays today, so here they are. Edgar Wright's The World's End.
One of his very best.
One of his very best. Definitely one of the best films from 2013. Speaking of 2013, I have three more to display too. Captain Phillips, one of my favorites of that year.
Tom Hanks definitely should have been nominated.
Yeah, really. Next up, one of my top 5 films of 2013, Gravity.
One of mine as well.
And then my favorite film of 2013, 12 Years a Slave.
One of mine as well.
Now moving on to 2014, I have 5 2014 Blu-rays. My favorite animated film in 2014, and the movie that should have been nominated for Best Animated Feature, the Lego Movie.
How that movie didn't win, let alone get nominated, is a crime.
Seriously.
I mean, I like Big Hero 6 fine, but either that or Dragon 2 should have won, hands down.
You know, speaking of which, my runner-up.
Coincidence. Really skeptical about the remake in a couple of years.
Yeah.
And you'll find out why today.
Mm-hmm. Next up, my favorite movie from this director, Wes Anderson's The Grand Budapest Hotel.
Probably in my top 3 of his as well.
Mm-hmm. Next, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes.
A better movie than the first one, which isn't saying much because the first one's already a masterpiece.
Yeah, really. And then, the one that started it all, the first John Wick.
Classic indeed. Surprise.
It is. I only have one 2015 film in it, and this is one of my favorites of that year. Room.
Indeed.
Look, say what you want about Brie Larson, but say what you want about Brie Larson nowadays, but she could really act, and this one is no different.
Indeed.
All right, I got a bunch of 2017 movies right here. I got 6 of them actually. I already mentioned the Lego Movie. Now I'm about to mention this one, the Lego Batman movie.
That or Cars 3 definitely should have been nominated over Boss Baby.
Like, seriously. Seriously. Next up, John Wick Chapter 2.
Even better than the first.
Mm-hmm. Next up, one of my top 10 films of 2017, Get Out.
Indeed.
Another one of my top 10s of 2017 is another Edgar Wright film, Baby Driver.
Either that or... actually, no. That's my number 2. Number 1 is Hot Fuzz.
Nice. And then my top 2 of 2017. What was close to being my number 1 film of that year, Dunkirk.
Yep.
And then I have my number 1 film of 2017, 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri.
Yep.
In my opinion, this is Martin McDonagh's best movie.
Yeah, it is.
Banshees comes very close. Next up, and I have 3 2018 movies. Next up, another Wes Anderson film, Isle of Dogs.
Another one of his very best.
I agree. I totally agree. I cannot wait to get the Criterion version of that film, too. And then my favorite horror film of 2018, Hereditary.
That's a close second behind Quiet Place.
Quiet Place was great. And you know what? It's ironic. Both The Quiet Place and Hereditary were my top 2 favorite horror films of that year, and yet you and I have the same top 2, just in a different order.
Actually, I take it back. Suspiria is probably my number 2. Hereditary is my number 3, but...
I'm not a fan of Suspiria, but... Well. Next up, Incredibles 2.
Pretty underrated sequel nowadays.
I agree. And then I also have 3 2019 films. Toy Story 4.
Real interesting to see the 5th one next year.
Yeah. You know what, dude? So do I.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah, we'll mention Eddington on the next podcast. I am interested. I am interested to see. I still think it's his weakest film.
Yeah, I didn't exactly like Beau Was Afraid, but even that's still a masterpiece compared to Eddington. But I'll talk about it next week.
Yeah, we'll talk about it next week. Next up, my number 4 film of 2019, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Indeed.
Quentin Tarantino. And then
Can't
another
wait
one of my top. What?
Can't wait to see the sequel by David Fincher.
Me too. And then one of my top 10 films of 2019, and the only one you should be watching, and not the piece of shit sequel, Joker.
The less I say about the sequel here, the better.
Yeah, really. And then the other ones are just new Blu-rays that I got. I already mentioned Bottoms, one of my favorites of that year, 2023. And then one of my favorites of this year so far, The Ballad of Wallace Island.
Yeah, good but not great.
I loved it. Next up, I mentioned this, but it's Warfare. And then, oh boy, I did show this, but I thought of saving this the best for last. My favorite film of this year so far, Sinners.
That was my number. That was my number one until I saw a certain movie we'll talk about next week.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, it's time to get on with the reviews.
All right, first up I have David Cronenberg's latest, The Shrouds. And his latest film has an interesting story. There's this company that lets you monitor your relatives' corpses after they died. But unfortunately, it was kind of a slow mess. There are some good actors like Vincent Cassel, and there's some good music and cinematography, as well as some fun makeup on the amputees. However, I felt the story to be a mess. It's extremely slow with scenes that drag on for the sake of it, and it has a pretty unsatisfying ending. Overall, it's easy to see why Janus Films barely even distributed this movie, since this was another letdown from Cronenberg, so sealed mediocrity. Next we have The Surfer, and this features Nicolas Cage, who tries to relax on the beach but is caught up with these weird surfers. There's some commanding performances from the likes of Nick Cage and the late great Dr. Doom, one of those Tim Story Fantastic Four movies. There's some dreamlike direction from the cinematography to the editing. Even though it can be a bit slow at times and the ending wasn't the most satisfying, it's nevertheless a hidden gem for Cage fans and Our House fans alike, and I'll give it a solid seal of approval.
I didn't like this movie, honestly. I was really expecting this to be like how I felt with Pig, Dream Scenario, and Lawn Lights, but unfortunately, I felt this was a weak link compared to the others. Now, that's not to say the film is bad, because it isn't. It's well directed. The acting is great. Once again, Nicolas Cage steals the entire fucking show as the surfer. You feel bad for this guy because of how much he's getting tortured and teased by these fucking surfers who won't give him his surfboard back. And that's why when he ends up losing his mind in the third act, it feels so satisfying to watch. And that's why I found his character to be the most sympathetic. It's got an excellent music, and on top of that, it's got an excellent musical score, fantastic cinematography, and I love how trippy yet unique its visuals look, especially in the third act, which ends up being the most trippy and entertaining thing in the film. Unfortunately, I didn't like this movie. Probably my biggest problem with the film is how messy the screenplay felt. Like, not only was some of the dialogue clunky as hell, and most of the characters, especially the fucking surfers and the cop, downright obnoxious and one-dimensional, but it tries to explore its themes on toxic masculinity, trauma, the illusion of control, and riding the wave of life that sadly never come to fruition. I get that the writer and director, I get the director and writer wanted to make this ambiguous by having the audience have their own interpretation whether this was really happening in Nicolas Cage's character's mind, this was really happening to Nicolas Cage's character, or it was all in his head. And I don't have a problem with that, with the decision of doing that. The problem, though, was how they did it. By dragging on and on with scenes in the first two acts of Nicolas Cage's character getting tortured left and right by these Serpent dudes as well as a cop and some bystanders to the point where you just can't help but feel frustrated and yell, "Oh my God, just give him back his surfboard or just leave the beach." And that's why I had a very hard time getting into this one. And on top of that, the story was a meandering mess. There's a lot of pacing issues in the first 2 acts. The editing was an uneven mess. The tension felt non-existent and lacking. And the ending felt very, and I mean very, abrupt. Like, there was no resolution to what. Like, I felt like it was, like, the ending felt really rushed. Like there was no resolution to all this. So overall, while Nicolas Cage delivers a brilliant performance and there are some tricky yet unique visuals here and there, I sadly found The Serpent to be convoluted and underwhelmingly forgettable. Not a terrible film, but not something I'll ever see myself watching again. 4.5 out of 10 or a C. I really didn't like this film. Yes, I did hear about that, and no, I am not watching them. I am not watching the whole thing. I only saw one clip of that film, and I was, and it looked so bad. Then I'm like, fuck this shit. I am not watching it.
I might watch it out of ironic enjoyment, but probably not. Next up, I have Fight or Flight, and this tried to be like Bullet Train on a plane, but it just felt flat for me. While Josh Trank and Clarissa,
you mean Josh Hartnett?
Yeah, Josh Hartnett, as well as this actress right here. They are at least trying, and there are some decently choreographed fight scenes, but ruined by shaky camera and quick editing. There's some horrendous comedic timing, exposition up the wazoo, and this was already pretty bad for the most part, but then that final act and abrupt ending made it even worse. It's no wonder this was such a forgotten flop, and I'm giving this a sealed disapproval.
And our next film isn't even better either.
Yep, Shao Force. Now I had the tiniest glimmer of hope that Joe Carnahan would give us at least a decent enough action film, but given the little press this movie's gotten, I should have known better. There's some decent acting from Omar Sy, Mark Strong, Kerry Washington, and Jaleel Kamara, but the acting isn't the worst, but still shaky and frantically edited. There's little to no action, just this boring family drama. Cinematography can be really dark at times, and the story's all you've seen before. So, not the worst action film this year, but still really bad. Sealed disapproval.
To me, this was one of the most generic, cliched, and incomprehensible action movies I've ever seen. This is one of those movies where it left me feeling baffled and dumbfounded at how it not only got made, but at how it not only got made, but why some of the some of the incomprehensible choices the film makes, and that by the time the credits rolled, it left me wondering, what in the hell did I just watch? And you know what's baffling about this? This was directed by the same guy, Joe Carnahan, that did Narc, The Grey, and Cop Shop. What a fall off. And apparently, thanks to Lionsgate, Shadow Force was not screened for critics. And boy, does it fucking show with this. I only found one redeeming thing in the film. One. Omar Sy. He was the only actor in the film that actually gives out a good performance. But now, it's time to talk about why this is absolutely one of the worst films I've seen this year so far. The story felt generic and incomprehensible. Joe Carnahan's directing was shockingly bad. Usually, Joe Carnahan directs some really good action sequences, especially with his last film, Cop Shop, but not here. And I'll talk about the action scenes in a bit. Not to mention the screenplay that he and Leon Chills wrote for the film was absolutely atrocious. Along with most of the characters feeling paper thin and one-dimensional, it also has some of the worst dialogue of the year so far. Like, the dialogue was so bad then it led me to believe that Joe and Leon basically got some type of chat GPT to help write it. That's how bad the dialogue felt. And the rest of the acting was terrible too. Kerry Washington was so lifeless in this movie. And I also feel bad for Jahil Kamara, who plays the son of the film. He really tries his best. And while he didn't annoy me as much as some did, the way his character was written comes across as being nothing more than a comic relief for the sake of it. And if you know me, that's one of my biggest pet peeves in movies. Mark Strong, who I thought was going to be the best thing in the film, is unfortunately terrible as the villain. It sucks because he's playing yet another cliche villain that we've seen dozens of times in other action movies. Method Man, it's also horribly wasted in this film. And the one thing that hurt to see the most, my God, Davine Joy Randolph. Like, my God. She's in another movie, which I'll mention later on, but can somebody please get her in a better movie? I mean, she won the Academy Award for this movie, for crying out loud. The Holdovers. How dare they waste her talent here in Shadow Force? The musical score was a scrambled mess. The cinematography was shockingly dull and bland. The editing was all over the place. The pacing was a sluggish mess. It's filled with cliches that you've seen countless of times in other action movies before. And the biggest glaring issue I have with the film are the action sequences. I would forgive the action sequences. I would forgive this movie for its cliches as well as its bland story if the action in Shadow Force was entertaining. But it's not. Like, I'm not kidding. Not only are the action sequences in Shadow Force absolutely terrible with how they were choreographed, edited, directed, and shot, but there's this one fire scene. There's this one fire effect shown in the film, showing this chase sequence that pissed me off to no end. Like, I'm not kidding. Like, look at this. Look at this fire effect here. It looked like it wasn't even It looked like it wasn't even finished.
Ish.
Look at this. Look at this fire effect. Just downright terrible. I'm not kidding when I say that this is on par with Firestarter in terms of having some of the worst fire effects I've ever seen in a movie. And this has one of the most tedious sequel bait endings I've ever seen. Especially with this one dialogue said by Davine Joy Randolph's character. She says, Shadow Force 2.0. Newsflash, not happening. That's not happening.
Especially since this movie bombed harder than that fire effect you just showed.
Yeah, really. Under its $40 million budget, it only made $4.3 million. Yeah, overall, Shadow Force is one of the most generic, boring, and incomprehensible action movies I've ever seen, and it is easily one of the worst movies I've seen this year so far. If I could give this my third 0 out of 10, I would. But because Omar Sy is the only redeeming thing I found in the film, it's a 1 out of 10 or a D-. Fuck this movie. Thankfully, the next movie I saw was a bit better. And believe it or not, it's one of 2 Shudder films I'm going to be mentioning here on this podcast. The first one is Clown in the Cornfield. The first one is Clown in the Cornfield. Now, I know what you're going to tell me. What the hell is Clown in the Cornfield about? And I will tell you. Let me look this up really quick. So, Clown in the Cornfield is about. So, Clown in the Cornfield is a film about. Hold on. It's about a fading Midwestern town in which Frendel the clown, a symbol of bygone success, reemerges as a terrifying Scrooge. This wasn't originally on my radar until I heard about the good things it was receiving, and so I decided to check it out for myself, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed this one. The story felt intriguing and engaging. Eli Craig did a very good job with the way he directed the film. The acting was very good. Katie Douglas delivered such an excellent performance as Quinn, and I definitely want to see more of this actress. Aaron Abrams, Kevin Durand, and Will Sasso are also very good too. It had a good soundtrack, excellent cinematography, solid editing, and what I really liked about this movie is how it delivers real tension throughout. Not only in terms of the kills, but in terms of the way those tension-filled sequences are drawn out to the point where it had me on the edge of my seat throughout. And I was also surprised with how it also delivered some big laughs on its social commentary involving the generational battles between baby boomers and Gen Z. I was a little worried. Now, granted, I was a little worried about this one. I was a little worried about this and thought that was going to be the worst thing about it. But how they executed it actually made it one of my favorite parts of the whole film. And how are the kills in Clown in the Cornfield, you ask? Well, I can only describe it in these two words. Fucking gnarly. Like, wow. The kills in Clown in the Cornfield felt gnarly and powerful. And the practical gore effects added a very nice touch to those gnarly kills. Now, it's not without its issues, though. With that being said, it's not without its issues. While Eli Craig did a very good job with the way he directed the film, I felt the screenplay he and Carter Blanchard wrote for the film could use some improvement, especially since some of the dialogue felt clunky at times. And minus Cole and Dr. Glenn Maybrook, as well as like Quinn, as well as Katie Douglas's character, most of the side characters felt underutilized and pretty forgettable. The movie does have its share of horror trope cliches that you've seen done in other horror films before, especially in the first act. And finally, it's very predictable, especially when it came to the reveal on who was behind Frendel the Clown the entire time. No spoilers, but when I saw that reveal, I was like, I knew it. But overall, that's really my only issues I have with the film. Overall, while it doesn't reinvent the genre due to its cliches and predictability the film presents, I nevertheless found Clown in the Cornfield to be a solid and intriguing slasher film that's also a lot of fun to watch. 7 out of 10 or a B. I like this film, and if you're a fan of slasher films, definitely give this one a watch. Hold on. Next film I'm going to talk about. Oh boy, I'm going to need to get my water for this. Hold on. Hold on. Let me. There we go. Folks, when I saw The Electric State earlier this year, I really thought I had seen the worst film of the year so far, and I didn't think anything, and I mean anything, could top that film or give us some competition. Until I saw this piece of shit. And yes, it is Hurry Up Tomorrow.
A movie that straight up refused to watch because from what I hear, it's not even a movie.
No, it's not. This did not feel like a movie at all. Like, Hurry Up Tomorrow? Well, like, hurry the fuck up, movie.
More like hurry up the credits.
Seriously. Hurry Up Tomorrow is one of the most self-indulgent, egocentric, and incompetent films I've ever seen in my life. Even as The Weeknd's vanity project, this felt less like a movie. This felt less like a movie and more like a 100 music video. This is one of those movies that tries but fails to say something about The Weeknd, and the worst of all, it doesn't know what it wants to be at all. Hurry Up Tomorrow is so awful, you would think that The Weeknd sold his soul to the devil to make this movie instead of getting some actual therapy. And I had a hard time finding some redeeming. Yeah, that's how bad this was. That's how bad this movie is. Like, I gotta talk. Okay. I like that. I'll have to use it from now on whenever I talk about this movie more. Anyway, there are so many things wrong with Hurry Up Tomorrow, so I might as well list them off. For number one, the story was such an incompetent and misguided mess, since it had the story felt incompetent and misguided, since it clearly did not know what it wanted to be. Number two, I was very disappointed with Trey Edward Schultz's directing, since it came up as it shockingly came up as being nothing more than a muddled mess. And it's shocking given the fact that he directed It Comes at Night and Waves. So I don't know what happened here. And the screenplay that he, Abel Tesfaye, and Reza Fahim, I'm sorry if I mispronounced that, but you get the point, was absolutely atrocious. Not only did it have such bland dialogue, but it doesn't do all that much with the way it's trying to explore its themes on self-discovery, loneliness, and toxic relationships. The acting was terrible. Like, oh my God. Like, The Weeknd was so bad in this movie, playing a fictionalized version of himself. It's like he's trying way too hard to act. It's like he tries but fails to act. And worst of all, even when he tries to cry in the film, it's more laughable than it is emotional. And you guys may have seen this scene all over the internet, but this one scene, but I'm not kidding. This one scene I'm about to show you with him and Jenna Ortega, like, his acting, my God, it is Tommy Wiseau, the Room levels of awful. Like, look at this. Hold on, let me. Oh, God damn it. Give me a second. Hold on. Look at this. Oh, God damn it, YouTube.
Last night to never leave. Go out there, you're destroying yourself. I just want to help you, and you won't let me help you. I'm not going to watch and stand by and let you hurt yourself because I care about you too much. And I just want to help you, Abel.
Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. Shut up. What are you doing? What the fuck are you doing? I have to go right now. I'm getting calls. I have to catch a flight. I'm on a tour. I'm trying to be fucking nice. You see, I'm trying to be nice right now, right? You're forcing me to be bad, but I'm actually doing a good thing. All right? So just chill the fuck out. And I gotta go.
Suddenly, Ice Cube is looking more like Danny Day-Lewis compared to this guy.
Like, I'm not kidding. That's how bad his acting is in this movie. I mean, if he wants to act in a movie, that's totally all right. But for fuck's sake, let it be in a better movie. Do not give me 100 minutes of just you trying and failing to act as well as cry, Abel. You're not good at it. And you know what? One thing I want to mention, too, and why his character absolutely sucks, is that in the beginning of the film, we see him like having sending a message, like calling his former girlfriend who she did not want anything to do with, and then all of a sudden the way he picks up the phone is like the way that he like tries to call her like this. It's like, will you please pick up? Will you please pick up? Pick up the phone, please. I want to talk to you. And then later on, he says, you stupid bitch. I knew I was in trouble there. Like, that's how bad his acting is in the film. Like, you must have done something to that girl to make her hate you. Oh my God. What did I just unleash? What the hell did I just unleash?
It is time for a new day in Equestria. Oh, hi, Mark.
I did not hit her. It's not true. It's bullshit. I did not hit her. I did not. Oh, hi, Mark.
What the hell did I just unleash?
You tear me apart, Weekend.
You tear me apart, Lisa. Oh wait, hold on. You're lying. I nearly hit you. You tear me apart, Lisa. Oh God. And poor Jenna Ortega and Barry Keoghan. They're really trying their best in the film, but they're so horribly wasted, especially since they're not given that much to do. And on top of the bland soundtrack, a waste of a good cinematography. And oh my God. And on top of the film having a bland soundtrack and a waste of a good cinematography, the editing, oh my God. Like, to say it was all over the place would be a massive understatement. Especially within the first 20 minutes of the film, where all of a sudden it goes into fast motion, like it's either a fucking music video or a commercial. The editing is so all over the place that you can't tell what the hell is even going on. The pacing was also a sluggish mess, since for a movie that was 105 minutes long, and that's with credits, it felt like it was going on for 3 hours. 3 hours! And oh my God, that ending. That fucking ending. Like, what? Like, all of a sudden, Jenna Ortega, I gotta spoil this ending because, oh my God, it is like...
She's just like lucky
What?
She's just lucky she has Wednesday season 2 in the horizon.
Like, seriously. Like, this ending... I was like, what? Like, all of a sudden, after Jenna Ortega's character ties the weekend, like explains the meaning. Sorry. Let me rephrase that. So Jenna Ortega's character explains to Weekend the meaning of his songs after she tied him up to his bed, and then all of a sudden I'm not kidding, by the way. Like all of a sudden, like she dances like one of those exotic dancers. Like all of a sudden she dances like one of those exotic dancers. Like and then after Abel sings "Hurry Up Tomorrow," she unties him and sets the room on fire? Like, what? Madam Web is worse. Yeah, overall, this movie fucking sucked. Hurry Up Tomorrow is one of the most shamelessly cynical, unbearably pretentious, self-indulgent, incompetent, and misguided films I've ever seen. Like, I have seen some bad independent films that come across as like either self-indulgent and or misguided as well as pretentious. And like Megalopolis, like last year's Francis Ford Coppola's Megalopolis, as well as Damien Chazelle's Babylon. But this is a special kind of bad. This is a special kind of self-indulgent, pretentious. It's so self-indulgent and pretentious to the point where it's just unwatchable. I have seen some bad movies this year, whether it's Flight Risk, Love Hurts, Captain America Brave New World, The Electric State, Snow White, The Woman in the Yard, a Minecraft movie, and the one that we just mentioned, Shadow Force. But to say that I hate Hurry Up Tomorrow more than those films would be a massive understatement. And minus that other movie we're going to mention next week, it's already bad. It's already up there as being the worst movie I've seen this year so far. Like, I am not even kidding. I'm not kidding. It's literally that bad. And with that, Hurry Up Tomorrow is getting my third 0 out of 10. Hold on. God damn it. Stupid audio. All right. And with that, Hurry Up Tomorrow is getting my third 0 out of 10 or an F. Boo! Even if you're a huge fan of The Weeknd, do not waste your time. Do not waste your time with this. It is not worth it whatsoever. And you know, I've been hearing some people defending this, saying you need to listen to the album in order to understand the movie. Here's the problem. I'm watching a movie, not listening to his album. Like there's a difference. Excuse me.
It's like with the people saying you have to read the comic book in order to understand the movie. No, you don't. Like a movie, even based on the source material, can't stand out. This is not one of them. Yeah, fuck this movie. It could rot in hell. Well, folks, I hope you got your drinks ready because this episode is going to have a ton of disagreements between Nick and I. So So take your first drink right here. Friendship. Now, the trailer got me hyped, but ultimately it just left me feeling empty. While Tim Robinson and Paul Rudd are good, this is nothing more than a collection of random skits with little to no plot to sell them together, and this, like no last was supposed comedy. Not that it had jokes that didn't land, more than that there's no humor to be spoken of. I mean, I get it's supposed to be more about the secondhand embarrassment between the characters than really spoken jokes, but as someone who can't stand secondhand embarrassment, it just came across as cringy to me. So
I
yeah,
think that's the whole point, though. That's the whole point.
I get it, but it just didn't connect with me. So most overrated film of the year, sealed disapproval.
Sorry, Søren, but I do not agree with this at all. It's one. Not only is Friendship a candidate for the funniest movie I've seen this year so far, aside from the other movie, which we'll talk about next time on our next podcast. I did hear about that. Like I did hear about that. Like, come on!
Just why?
Why? Anyway, what I was trying to say. Not only is Friendship a candidate for the funniest movie I've seen this year so far, but this is also such a twisted and bizarre, yet hilarious and poignant portrait of loneliness, narcissism, and the dangers of adult male friendship that had me laughing while also intrigued at some of the dumb yet understandable decisions Tim Robinson's character makes throughout. The story felt highly engaging and at times intriguing. Andrew DeYoung's directing was fantastic, and the screenplay he wrote was also brilliant. Not only due to its very well written dialogue, but also balancing its dark and comedic tones and elements successfully, and having a lot to say with its social commentary and themes on, like I stated before, loneliness, narcissism, and the dangers of adult male friendship. The acting was great. Paul Rudd, Kate Mara, and Jack Dylan Grazer are brilliant. Are brilliant in the film. But Tim Robinson, my God, what a fucking show stealer. What makes his performance so special isn't just because of how hilarious he is, but because at first you actually feel for the guy with how lonely he feels, despite being married to his wife and having a kid, and how he needs a guy friend to not only talk to but also be accepted into while at the same time you don't, with some of the dumb yet understandable decisions he makes later on in the film that makes him come across as a fucking creeper. Yeah. And that's where the humor comes in too. Like, my God, like when it came to the film's humor, it works because of how twisted, absurd, and bizarre, yet witty and clever they felt. Especially this one sequence involving a toad and someone at some point. Like, oh my God, that sequence. That sequence had me dying of laughter, and it made me hungry to get a Subway sandwich. Definitely a better Subway, definitely a better promotion for Subway than that fucking piece of shit who we will not mention. Yeah, I'm looking at you, Jared.
That's what I mean. Watch that Smiling Friends episode, and you'll know what we're talking about.
Uh-huh. Subway, eat fresh! I was also very surprised by how haunting and brilliant the musical score felt, especially with some of the synth ways the composer puts that gives it more of an 80s vibe. It's got fantastic cinematography, great editing, the pacing was very good, and it also has one of the most satisfying endings I've seen in the film this year so far. My only issue I did have with the film is that there were admittedly a couple of characters, including Kate Mara's character, that did feel a bit utilized, and I wish they could have expanded upon furthermore. But that's it. I really love this movie. Overall, I found friendship to be twisted and absurd, yet hilarious and poignant. And above all, it's one of the best movies I've seen this year so far. 9.5 out of 10 or an A. I love this movie. If you're a fan of A24, and if you're a fan of Tim Robinson, you need to watch this one right away. It's a great film.
And also Paul Rudd.
And Paul Rudd. Thank you. Yeah, check it out. It's one of the best films of this year so far, in my personal opinion.
Next, we have Fountain of Youth, and honestly, this feels less like a Guy Ritchie film and more like an AI-written Indiana Jones flick. While the actors try with what they give, while the actors do try with what they're given, and there's some decent cinematography and action sometimes. You've seen this type of adventure story before. It tries nothing new. It's also annoyingly slow. Some soundtrack choices feel tacky. The CGI looks cheap for a movie that costs $180 million, and it tries too hard to be fun. And it tries way too hard to be funny, especially with the main character, and it's cringy as hell as a result. Overall, I like to call this the gray man of treasure hunt movies, which I'm giving the seal disapproval.
And sadly, the next movie we're going to talk about isn't even better either.
Yep, the live-action remake of Lilo and Stitch. Honestly, kind of a disappointment.
Oh my god.
Honestly, this was kind of a disappointment in terms of its director and source material. While there is some decent CGI for the most part, and most of the performances are solid enough, Maya Kaloa and Chris Sanders alone as Leo and Stitch are being the highlights. And there are some funny moments, and sometimes have left me laughing out loud. It's unfortunately kind of a mess. Certain iconic moments from the original animation are either rushed as hell or omitted entirely. Jumping completely, I felt had opposite problems. While Billy Magnuson was funny as Pleakley, his alien design looked creepy as hell. On the other hand, Jumper looked okay, but his portrayal and especially Zach Galifianakis' performance feel
What did they do to Dr. Jumper? What did they do?
Same thing that My Little Pony Season 8 did to Discord, apparently. And
seriously.
And Stitch has an entirely pointless fake-out death at the end. Overall, this isn't the worst remake, but it's still not good. But it's not just stuck to streaming. But considering this was a huge success at the box office, I guess on a business standpoint, Disney made the right decision. Still mediocrity.
I love the original Lilo and Stitch. It's not just one of the best animated films from Disney, but it was also a great movie that does a brilliant job tackling its themes involving family and love. And right off the bat, I will say that Lilo and Stitch is better than that god-awful Snow White from a few months ago. Why? Because it has some good things in it. It was good to hear Chris Sanders' voice Stitch again. Maya Kiola. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that, but so this is why I'm gonna type her name in the comments and mention it. There we go. Yeah, she was the biggest standout as Lilo, and there were a couple of good performances. There's a couple of good performances too, especially from Amy Hill. Amy Hill, who was really good in this movie. It's got a very good musical score, great cinematography, and most of the CGI was really good, especially on Stitch. And it's definitely better than most of the CGI in most of the live action remakes. Now, unfortunately, that's where my positives end. Even though it's better than Snow White, The Lion King, and Mulan, it's still not a good movie at all. I'm not kidding when I say that this was one of the most pointless and frustrating remakes I've ever seen. The story felt rushed and inconsistent. not to mention the screenplay was absolutely atrocious. Mainly with how most of the changes they made no goddamn sense. And it made most of the characters either underdeveloped or absolutely despicable. Especially with what they did to Nani and Dr. Jumba. And I gotta bring up the original because this fits in context to why the live action remake didn't work. In the original, yeah, Nani felt frustrated by some of the stuff Lilo did, but you understand why, as she's trying her absolute best to keep her sister from being taken away from Child Protective Services because of how much she cares for her. Here in the remake though, Nani doesn't even care all that much about her sister Lilo. Oh, I remember in the original where when Nani was about to take Stitch away, Lilo confronts her by bringing up the famous quote of Ohana and how it means family and they don't get left behind. Well, in the remake, when she says the same thing, Nani had the audacity to reply to Lilo by saying they left us behind, referring to her dead parents. Indeed. I'm sorry, but are you fucking kidding me? You're having Nani blame her parents all because they were dead? By having Tutu care for Lilo instead of Nani, you guys just made Nani into an unlikable bitch. Congratulations, you fuckers. I agree, Rarity. I agree. And now to talk about the change they made to Dr. Jumbo. The fact they made him into the main villain of this remake instead of Gantu, all because they didn't have enough money to animate Gantu, is absolutely pathetic. Yeah, Dr. Jumbo was a scientist in the original, but the thing is, he had a heart. He cared a lot for Stitch. And when Stitch asked him to go see Lilo for Gantu, after finally finding him, he does. And yes, you could argue that it was done as a joke, but it felt believable. But here, his main motivation now is to take Stitch and reprogram him to become 627, which I should mention is a reference to that in the TV series. Like, why? And you know what I find to be very tone deaf about this? The fact they had a lot of money to animate the CG lions in both Lion King live action remakes, yet they thought, oh my god, oh, we don't have a lot of money to animate Gantu, so let's put Dr. Jumper as the main villain instead. What the fuck is your logic, Disney?
I don't even know.
Oh yeah, and that thing I mentioned with the motivation, yeah, it was pretty obvious from the start they were going to make sequels off of the direct-to-video sequels from the start. We fucking knew it. And what destroyed Dr. Jumbo, and what separates Dr. Jumbo from the original is that Dr. Jumbo wasn't just a comic relief in the original, he also had development. So making him the villain when it could have been Gantu made no goddamn sense. Oh, and did I forget to mention some of the other changes that made no sense? No badass Bubbles, no Pleakley in drag, and the worst one of all, aside from the ending, which I'll talk about later, no Ugly Duckling storyline.
And I've heard people complain about Pleakley not being in drag. I'll be honest, Having him in a dress isn't going to save his uncanny design.
No, it's not. You're right on that. I feel bad for Dean Fleischer Camp, especially since he directed one of my favorite movies of 2022, which was Marcel the Shell with Shoes On. He really tries his. And look, I even got a Marcel figure.
I need to get that.
Look at this little guy. I really thank you from the bottom of my heart, Dean Fleischer Camp and Jenny Slate. You really made a great movie, and you made a great. And you guys, along with A24, made a great figurine. I love this little guy. One of the best characters of the decade. I feel bad for him because he really tries his best with the way he directed the film, but it's unfortunate that he was saddled with such a garbage script. The rest of the acting was terrible. The actress that played Nani was so bad, and not to mention, she's horribly miscast in this movie. Thank you. And yeah, he is adorable.
I need to get that.
It's available on A24. It's available in the A24 shop.
Yeah, I know.
You should get it. Anyway, she's horribly miscast too as Nani. Like the problem was that Nani is supposed to be Hawaiian, yet even despite being born in Hawaii in real life, she's not native Hawaiian. She's half Filipino and half Caucasian. And no, it's not like the Ariel or Snow White situation where they're both fictional characters that existed long before the Disney movies. No. Lilo and Stitch was an original Disney animated film released in 2002, and Nani in that film was Hawaiian. So you guys couldn't have the courtesy to get a real native Hawaiian to play Nani? Like, what? Oh yeah, and yeah, it did. It did. It was originally planned to go straight to Disney Plus. Yeah, but then they decided to release this in theaters because of course they did. Oh, and don't think I forgot about Zach Galifianakis as Dr. Jumbo. Look, I love Zach Galifianakis, but he suffered through the same problem as Seth Rogen as the voice of Pumbaa in The Lion King and Donkey Kong in the Super Mario Brothers movie. Zach Galifianakis is basically playing Zach Galifianakis.
Especially since he dropped a whole accent from the cartoon.
Exactly. All the other actors, including Billy Magnuson, Tia Carelli, I'm sorry if I mispronounced that. Tia Carrere. God damn it, I'm back. God damn it, I'm bad with pronunciation sometimes. And Courtney B. Vance also horribly wasted as well, especially since they're not given that much to do. It's clumsily edited. The jokes felt juvenile and lame. And are there cliches in it? Yep, they're definitely in there. But now, let's get to one thing I wanted to talk about, and I wanted to talk about that pissed me off to no end. The motherfucking ending. Guys, I'm not kidding. This is one of the worst endings I've ever seen in a movie. And I'm not kidding. It makes the whole Ohana thing. It makes the whole Ohana quote feel absolutely pointless because of how much it just basically contradicts itself. So, yep, I'm about to mention it. This ending pissed me off because the ending is where Nani actually surrenders her guardianship to Lilo and gives her away to the neighbors in order for her to go to college and succeed in marine biology. And succeed in marine biology. Nerd.
Even though as Mr. Star Trooper pointed out, there's already a college in Hawaii that studies marine biology. So why even move? You could have just stayed. You could just went to that university and stayed with Lilo.
Nerd, take it away. Hold on. Take it away, nerd. This is the main reason why I ended up hating Lilo and Stitch. That decision to end a movie like that was a complete slap in the face. And it makes the word Ohana seem meaningless. Yeah, guys. Yeah, guys. Oh. Hold on. I don't know why I just said that. Yeah, guys. Ohana means giving your kids away to the government. Fuck you! Yeah, overall, it may not be as bad as the Lion King, Mulan, or the infamously awful Snow White. But Lilo and Stitch is nevertheless one of the most frustratingly inconsistent Disney live-action remakes I've ever seen. Throughout the film, it was just a 4 out of 10. But because of that ending, it made me drop it down towards 3 out of 10 or a D+. Never watch this movie. Even if you're a fan of the original film, never see this movie, please.
Next up, take another drink, another disagreement. Karate Kid Legends. At first, I was worried about the prospect of making this a sequel to both the original and the 2010 reboot, but somehow, some way, this movie pulled it off. It pays tribute to both versions while also being its own thing. There's some fantastic actors, especially Jackie Chan, Ralph Macchio, and Ben Wang. The coming-of-age story was engaging. There's some stellar fight sequences, though the only problem I have is it could be a bit longer to make certain scenes have a bigger impact. This is nevertheless arguably the martial arts version of Top Gun Maverick, so seal of approval.
I was actually looking forward to seeing Karate Kid Legends because of how much I love the Karate Kid. In fact, there's another reason why I decided to put these in the background. I love the Karate Kid. I think it's one of the best films of the 80s and one of the best coming of age films too. And I even like the second film. Yeah, the second film was easily the best of the sequels. So yeah. And now that I was looking forward to seeing it because of how much I love the original Karate Kid films, and how I was interested to see Jackie Chan and Ralph Macchio come back to reprising their roles. And now that I finally saw it, all I can say is it's Now, to be fair, there are some good things in it. Jonathan, the directing was solid. Most of the acting was very good. Ben Wang was great as Li Fang. Jackie Chan did a very good job reprising his role. Joshua Jackson and Sadie Stanley are also very good too. The musical score was very good. The cinematography was excellent. And the fights and our martial arts sequences were definitely a lot of fun to watch, especially with how they were shot, edited, and choreographed. Sadly, that's where my positives end. The story felt rushed and all over the place. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, we get a subplot involving Joshua Jackson's character, Victor, who works at a pizzeria in New York, becoming a boxer, which had potential, but with how sloppily edited and rushed it felt like it didn't serve that much of a purpose. And then there's another subplot involving Lone Star that served no purpose other than they want to fight Ben Wan's character? Huh? And at first I thought the screenplay for Karate Kid Legends had some potential until I found out it was written by the same guy that wrote Peter Rabbit and Goosebumps 2. And boy, does the writing stick out like a sore thumb. Other than some clunky dialogue, what makes the screenplay such an overbloated mess is that you have most of the characters feel underutilized or some that are just shoehorned in for nostalgic purposes, including Daniel LaRusso. Like, what a waste of him in this movie. Especially when his character doesn't do all that much other than that one montage sequence where he trains Lee Fong for the fight. If you're not going to have Daniel LaRusso do that much in the film, then why even have him in it? Oh, that's right. Last minute nostalgia bait. And while I did say my positives that most of the acting was good, not only was Ralph Macchio horribly wasted in this movie, but Armus Knight, my God, he was so bad in this movie. I don't know if it's the writing or the way he was directed. But man, he felt so cartoonishly over the top as the main villain that it was hard for me to take him seriously. And the actress that played Lee Fong's mother felt horribly wasted since like Daniel LaRusso, she's also not given that much to do as well. And not only is the film filled with cliches that you've seen in other films before, especially the first Karate Kid film, but my God, the editing. Like the editing was absolutely atrocious. Like, it's so choppily edited to the point where I couldn't even tell what the hell was even going on. And as a result of its sloppy editing, the pacing was also a rushed mess as well. Overall, but the film is watchable and it does offer some entertaining moments here and there. I sadly found the Karate Kid Legends to be a rushed and convoluted mess. It's not a terrible film, but man, it really could have been so much better. 4.5 out of 10 or C. I really did not like this film. My next film, though, is one of the best movies I've seen this year so far, and one of the best horror films of the year, too. It's called Bring Her Back. It's from the director of it's from the same team it's from the same brother duo that brought me Talk to Me, which was the best horror film of 2023 in my opinion. And Bring Her Back. And in Bring Her Back, hold on. And in Bring Her Back, we follow a brother and sister who witness a terrifying ritual at the secluded home of their new foster mother. Now, I was really looking forward to seeing this, especially given how much I love Talk to Me. And boy, did they succeed again with this one. Have the brothers cooked up another great movie in their belt. There is so much I really loved about Bring Her Back. If there were words to describe the story of Bring Her Back, it would be in these following words: engaging and chilling. The Rocka Rockers brothers directing was fantastic. The writing was excellent, not only in terms of its well-written dialogue, but how it had a lot to say when it came to exploring its themes on grief and unresolved trauma. The acting was terrific. Sora Wong and Billy Barrett both delivered such wonderful great. Sorry, I'm sorry. Let me rephrase that. Sora Wong and Billy Barrett both delivered such wonderful breakthrough performances as Piper and Andy, respectively. But as for Sally Hawkins, wow. Like, I would be lying if I didn't say that this is one of her best performances yet. What I loved about her performance is as the grieving mother is how at first you see her as this ordinary stepmom who's kind and understanding, but later on as the film progresses, you discover something sinister about her. I don't want to spoil what happens, but once you see it, you'll know what I'm talking about. The musical score was brilliant. The cinematography was fantastic. It's got great editing and great pacing, and I know what you're going to ask me. Does Bring Her Back work as a horror film? Well, yeah, it does. It does. Why else did it let me feel speechless when I first saw it? Not only does it deliver some real tension and suspense, but as for the body horror elements shown in the film, all I can say is, holy fucking shitballs. Seriously, it takes a lot to terrify me with those elements, and boy, does this succeed so well. A huge round of applause to the practical effects and makeup artists for making the body horror elements in Bring Her Back look grotesque and disturbing, yet fantastically well detailed. The sound design was fantastic due to how eerie and haunting it felt. And without spoilers, it also has one of my favorite endings I've seen this year so far. Now, even though I love this movie, do I think Bring Her Back is just as fantastic or better than their last film, Talk to Me? Well, not quite. My only issue I did have with the film is that I wish the film could have added a couple more minutes involving a certain backstory with one of the main characters, especially with how briefly mentioned it felt. But that's really it. Overall, Bring Her Back is absolutely one of the most powerful, chilling, and terrifying horror films I've ever seen, and it proves once again why the Rocka brother duo are one of the most exciting voices in horror today. One of the best I've seen this year so far? Oh, you bet your ass it is. 9.5 out of 10 or an A. If you love the Rocka Brothers' last movie, Talk to Me, give this one a watch, please. And now it's time for me to wrap up May as I talk about my last movie, Jane Austen, Wrecked My Life. I got to admit, the title alone got me interested. Now, Jane Austen, Wrecked My Life is a French film involving a desperately involving a thanks for watching the podcast, too. Thanks for watching, and you're more than welcome to rewatch it. Thanks for watching. It follows Agatha, who, desperately single and preyed by writer's block, gets invited to the Jane Austen writer's residency in England. Caught in an unexpected romantic triangle, she must let go of her insecurities to decide what she really wants for herself. I really like this film. In fact, it's one of the better films of this year so far. The story felt highly engaging. That's mine, Taz. The directing was great. The screenplay was very good, especially with how it does a brilliant job exploring its themes on identity, obsession, and the longing for something. The acting was brilliant. The actress Camille Rutherford, who was in one of my favorite movies of 2023, Anatomy of a Fall, delivers such a brilliant performance as Agatha Robinson. And you know what? Yeah. And I have to say, this was a very good follow-up to that film she was in. All right. Thanks for watching tonight's podcast, dude. Good night. Anyway, continuing on what I was saying. Pablo Pauly and Charlie Anson are also great as Phyllis and Oliver, respectively. The soundtrack was very good. The cinematography was terrific. The editing was good. The humor felt witty and clever, and the ending felt very satisfying too. Now, of course, it's not without its issues. Like the pacing can feel a bit wonky at times, and there are some cliche rom-com tropes expected here, such as the will they, won't they situation. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. It's just something I thought I'd point out. Other than that, though, that's really it. Overall, I found Jane Austen Wrecked My Life to be funny, intelligent, delightful, charming, and without a doubt, one of the better movies I've seen this year so far. And with that, I'm sorry. Easily one of the better films of this year so far. 9 out of 10 or an A-. And with that, I'm finally done with May, and we can move on to June.
Next, we have The Phoenician Scheme, and the latest Wes Anderson movie delivers the fun colors, cinematography, music, acting, and sense of humor you'd expect from him. However, this one doesn't really add anything new to the genre. There's some weird editing choices, and I didn't find the story as compelling as his other works. So, this is fun for hardcore Wes Anderson fans, but by far his weakest work so far, which I'll probably never watch again. So I'll give it the seal of accuracy.
I have to disagree with you on that, Søren, because I really love this movie. I think it's one of the best films of this year so far, and it proves once again that Wes Anderson has still got it as a writer and filmmaker. In fact, I really loved it so much that I wouldn't even go as far as to say it's better than his last two films, The French Dispatch and Asteroid City. I love both of those films, but I love The Phoenician Scheme just a bit more. The story felt highly engaging and well-structured. Wes Anderson did an excellent job with the way he directed the film, and the screenplay was brilliant. Not only did it have sharp and witty dialogue, but it also does a brilliant job with the way it tackles and explores its themes on morality, capitalism, strained family relationships, corruption, and religion. The acting was terrific. Benicio del Toro gives one of his best performances yet. Mia Threepleton, I'm sorry if I mispronounced that. She was brilliant as Sister like Lizelle. But man, Michael Cera. Oh my God. Wow. He not only stole the entire show, but he also gives out one of his best performances yet as Yorn. I mean, some of the stuff he did in the film made me laugh so hard. And all three have great chemistry as well. And on top of that, you also have Riz Ahmed, Tom Hanks, Bryan Cranston, Jeffrey Wright, Scarlett Johansson, Benedict Cumberbatch, Rupert Friend, Hope Davis, Bill Murray, and Willem Dafoe, although he and Murray aren't in the film that much, but that's besides the point, who are also great in it too. Alexandre Desplat's musical score was terrific. The cinematography was fantastic. It's very well paced throughout. It's got exquisite production values and costume design. And like you expect with other Wes Anderson films, the dry and quirky humor felt witty and clever. I was also surprised and impressed at how it wasn't afraid of showing its dark moments throughout. And the way it ended was great. Now, if I had one issue with the film, and I do agree with you on this, Søren, there were a couple editing choices that did feel a bit uneven at times. But that's it. Overall, The Phoenician Scheme is another great addition to Wes Anderson's filmography, especially since this was a quirky, poignant, highly entertaining, and absorbing portrait of family, capitalism, corruption, and morality. And it proves once again on why Wes Anderson is one of the finest filmmakers working today. It's one of the best movies I've seen this year so far. 9.5 out of 10 or an A. I really, really enjoyed this a lot.
Next up, take another drink, another disagreement.
If you're a Wes Anderson fan, if you're a huge Wes Anderson fan, check it out.
Next up, take another drink.
We're going to talk about Ballerina next. I'm sorry.
Now I'm convinced that this didn't have the John Wick name in the title. This would have just been seen as another action revenge movie. There is some good acting from Anna de Armas. There's some nice cinematography, but it does take a lot to get going. The story's somewhat predictable. The action is fine, but not up to par, and can get kind of boring after a while. So, not terrible, but just forgettable, and it's not surprised it underperformed as it did. So, seal mediocrity.
I really like this one. Now, granted, like there are some problems with this movie. Like it is, I do agree with you, Søren, that it is the weakest of the film so far. The biggest problem I have with the film is the story. It's unfortunately a downgrade compared to its predecessor, since the motivation behind it and why it's even happening not only felt generic but also cliched. Like I've seen this done in other films before. And on top of the film having a couple pacing issues in some spots, Norman Reedus is horribly wasted, since not only is he barely in the movie all that much, but he's not given that much to do either. But despite that, I really liked it. I thought the writing was very good. Len Wiseman's directing was great. especially with how he directed the action sequences, which is nothing short of spectacular. Most of the acting was great. Ana de Armas was fantastic in this film. I mean, she was fantastic as the main lead. And despite not being in the film that much, it was wonderful to see Keanu Reeves reprise his role as John Wick. And as for Angelica Houston, Gabriel Byrne, Lance Reddick in his final film appearance, and Ian McShane, they were all great as well. It's got an excellent musical score, terrific cinematography, solid editing, and the action sequences, as I stated before, they are a lot of fun to watch. Not only are they well done in terms of the way they were shot, directed, and edited and choreographed, but the amount of stunts they provided added a very nice touch to those sequences. And the way it ended was really, really good. And it felt really satisfying. Overall, it is the weakest of the John Wick. Overall, while it is the weakest of the John Wick movies due to its cliched story, Ballerina is regarded as highly entertaining, a lot of fun, and another solid addition to the John Wick franchise. I really like this one. 8 out of 10, or a B+.
Next up, take another drink, another huge disagreement, probably our biggest one. Life of Chuck. Now I wanted to love this one. After seeing the trailers and hearing all the buzz about this being this generation's It's a Wonderful Life, I wanted to just fall in love and get down on my knees and just bawl like a baby over all the emotion. Well, I did bawl, but it turns out I was bawling tears of boredom because I just don't get this one. Well, positives out of the way. There's some fine acting, especially from Tom Hiddleston, and Mark Hamill especially is the highlight of the film. There's some good cinematography, and there are some amusing moments, including some dance sequences. Unfortunately, it's ultimately a mess. The non-chronological order I felt was pointless. It's kind of preachy with the end of the world with how great of a guy Chuck was, especially in the first act. What I wouldn't mind so much is I actually knew Chuck as a person, but it only shows glimpses of his life, and it barely even focused on him at all. So overall, this isn't horrible, but it's definitely one of the most disappointing and overrated films of the year, so an unfortunate seal of mediocrity.
I have to... And we disagree once again, because I really love this film. I really love this movie. Mike Flanagan did a wonderful job with this one. I thought Mike Flanagan did a wonderful job with this one. Not only was it well directed, but the screenplay he wrote for the film was brilliant. And you gotta understand too, Søren, this was based on Stephen King's short story. And from what I heard, it was done in the same order as the movie was shown. So that's why it was like that. Not only was it well directed and well edited by him, but the screenplay he wrote for the film was brilliant, because not only did it have characters that feel real and well developed, as well as witty and clever, as well as witty dialogue, but it also tackled a lot. It also did a wonderful job with the way it explored its themes on memory, connection, relationships, and memories that create a rich and complex universe, as well as morality. It's a meditation of that. The story had me emotionally invested throughout due to how highly engaging it felt. The acting was brilliant. Everybody in the film gave out such a great performance, including Tom Hiddleston and Chiwetel Ejiofor, as well as Karen Gillan. But there were two performances that stood out to me the most. Jacob Tremblay as the younger as 17-year-old Chuck, and
he's definitely come a long way since Room. I'll give him that.
He definitely does. But my God, Mark Hamill was fantastic as the grandfather. This is one of his best performances yet. That's how good he is. That's how good he is in the film. And he almost reminded me of my grandfather too. That's how good his performance felt. The soundtrack was brilliant. The cinematography was terrific. It's nicely paced throughout. And its visuals are really cosmic. It's got some really cosmic visuals. And above all, it has one of my favorite endings I've seen in the movie this year so far. And I really like Nick Offerman's Nick Offerman's narration too. I thought that added a nice touch to it. I thought it was a brilliant film, and I thought it was absolutely one of the most deeply moving films I've seen this year so far, and it is absolutely one of the best films I've seen this year so far too. It's not my favorite of the year so far. Sinners is still my favorite, but this is a close second for me. I love this film. And because of that, it is earning my fourth 10 out of 10 or an A+, baby. Well done, Mike Flanagan. Well done.
Next movie, I have Predator: Killer of Killers. This movie basically came out of nowhere as it was announced only a couple months before its release, and let me tell you, it was a hell of a surprise. The stories about a Viking, a samurai, and a World War II pilot are all compelling thanks to the characters and voice acting, and the stunning animation lends itself to some thrilling action set pieces, which can be visual as all hell. Also, some really good music as well. So, this is not only the best Predator movie since the original, but it's also the best animated film of the year, period. Though, to be fair, I haven't seen Nietzsche too, yeah. Seal Cinema.
Next movie I have is another Shudder film that I hinted at earlier, and it's called Dangerous Animals. It's about a shark-obsessed serial killer who holds Zypher, a rebellious surfer, captive on his boat. Racing against time, she must figure out a way to escape before he carries out a ritualistic feeding to the sharks below. This wasn't originally on. I originally had no interest in seeing this movie, but when I heard about the positive reception it was receiving, including the film being a runner-up for Best Indie at the Astra Mid-Season Movie Awards, with the winner being Bob Trevino, likes it, I actually got curious about this one, and boy, did I really enjoy this one a lot. Boy, am I glad that I watched this one. It was really, really good. The story kept me engaged throughout. The directing was excellent. It's by the same director that did the Lovely Bones. The acting was great, especially with Jack Courtney stealing the entire show as the serial killer named Tucker. It's got a very good musical score, brilliant cinematography. And what I really liked about this movie is how the sharks were handled in the film. They were used sparingly to the point where the tension actually felt real. Yeah, the sharks were done in CGI, but I actually didn't mind that, given how well done they looked. As for issues, the pacing can feel a bit wonky at times, and while the characterization is good, I did feel the script could have used some improvement on the dialogue since it felt clunky at times. Like, what the hell was up with that baby shark reference? Like, what the fuck was that? But overall, I really enjoyed this film. I really enjoyed it. 8 out of 10 or a B+.
Next, we have the better of the Chris Sanders, Dean DeBra animated live-action remakes, but still not good. How to Train Your Dragon. I was just as skeptical as everyone else when this was announced, and the final result ended up being a mixed bag overall. I will say that Dean DeBra proved to be just as competent of a live-action director as animation, as there's some good production design and cinematography, and the music is good, mostly because it's more or less the same as the original, and most of the cast isn't great, but doesn't exactly phone in, and a couple added elements are welcomed. Other than that, it's almost a shot-for-shot remake with little to no differences. Most of the additions add little to nothing. The costumes and beards kind of looks like the college humor skits. The CGI isn't bad, but it looks kind of off on the dragons, and Astrid's actor, yikes.
Oh
So,
God! Oh God! That the actress that played Astrid, like I don't know what movie she stumbled upon in, but it certainly wasn't Schindler's List Part 2.
can't wait to see it. So, not a terrible movie, but hopefully DreamWorks doesn't go as overboard with these remakes as Disney has. So, sealed mediocrity.
Yeah, I'm with you on this one. Now, to be fair, it is the directing is good. Most of the acting was, and so was most of the acting, with Mason Thames being the biggest standout as Hiccup, and Nick Frost and Gerard Butler are also very good too. It's got a brilliant musical score, fantastic cinematography, excellent production values and costume design, and I have to disagree with you on the visual effects, Søren. I thought they were very well done. But with that being said, the story is a cliched and predictable mess since it's nothing but a copy and paste of the original film. The screenplay is also a cliched mess, especially with how most of the time the dialogue repeats itself. Well, I said my positives that most of the and I did mention the actress, Nico Parker, being terrible as Astrid. Not only was her acting really bad, but there's no chemistry between her and Mason Thames as a result of this. It's clumsily edited. It's filled with cliches that it's filled with cliches, especially given the fact that if you've seen the original film, you've seen the live action remake. And here's the biggest problem I have. Sorry. But the biggest problem I have with the film is this. Why the fuck did it need to be 2 hours long? Like, the original film was good for what it is. A 90-minute film. There was no reason for this live action remake to be 2 hours long. And it suffers through some pacing issues as a result of this. Overall, it has some charming and entertaining moments here and there. But unfortunately, How to Train Your Dragon was pretty forgettable. 5 out of 10 or C+.
Next up, Materialists, and Celine Song's spiritual successor
True that.
Celine Song's spiritual successor to Past Lives promises to be a funny rom-com, but the final result ended up being kind of underwhelming. While the acting's good from the three main leads, and the concept of Dakota Johnson as a matchmaker dealing with her own romantic problems has potential, and has some good music and cinematography as well. However, I felt there to be pacing issues, as it could have been trimmed down 20 to 30 minutes. There's some rom-com cliches you'd expect, and the second half was kind of depressing. So, not a bad movie, but not one I'd see again. Seal of accuracy.
And here we are again with another disagreement because I love this film. I love this movie. The story felt highly engaging and well structured. Celine Song's directing was brilliant, and her screenplay was fantastic, especially with not only how well written the dialogue felt and how real and fleshed out the characters felt too, but how it had a lot to say when it came to exploring its themes on love and the complexity of relationships. The acting was terrific, especially from Dakota Johnson, Chris Evans, and Pedro Pascal, who all delivered such fantastic performances. It's got an excellent musical score, stunning cinematography, great editing and pacing, some nice moments of dry humor sprinkled into the mix. And I actually did like how it wasn't afraid of showing some dark moments, even for a movie that's really more of an rom-com. And the ending felt surprisingly very satisfying. Now, as for one thing I didn't like about the film, and what makes this like a bit of a downgrade compared to Past Lives, is that without spoiling the film, there are some certain aspects within the story that did feel a bit rushed, but that's it. I loved it. It was well acted. It was entertaining. It was moving and above all, it's one of my favorite movies I've seen this year so far. 9.5 out of 10 or an A. I've loved it. Between this and Past Lives, I can't wait to see what Celine Song does next.
Next, we have 28 Years Later. Now, the first couple movies I deem as proof of concepts, which were entertaining to be sure, but didn't really live up to its complete potential, which is pretty much why I got a kick out of this more than the others. There's some good cinematography and acting. The zombie makeup's just as gory as ever, and the acting's great as well. However, it's not perfect, as it's a bit slow at times, and there's these weird editing choices, including times where they use bullet time for some of the kills. I mean,
The weird editing choice was definitely my only issue I did have with the film. I agree with you on that.
and my real problem is that when it was starting to get really good, it ends, which isn't exactly a huge problem since there's a sequel coming out next January, but still. I'm still really eager to see where it goes next year, so seal of approval.
The weird editing choices kept this from being better than the original film. But regardless, I love this movie. 28 Years Later was definitely one of my favorites of this year so far. It's well directed by Danny Boyle. Alex Garland's writing was terrific. The acting was great. Jodie Comer and Aaron Taylor Johnson were brilliant, and so were Jack O'Connell and Ray Fiennes. But Alfie Williams, wow, what a performance he gave out. He was brilliant as Spike. What a performance he gave out. Like, I'm not kidding when I say that this is the best breakthrough performance I've seen from a child actor this year so far. That's how great he is. That's how great he is. That's how brilliant he was. The soundtrack was great. The story felt chilling and intriguing. The cinematography was brilliant. The practical makeup effects added a nice touch. What was fantastic. It delivered some real tension throughout. And I know some people had some mixed feelings on the ending. I actually liked the way it ended. I thought it added a nice touch to what is gonna be the next install, to what we're gonna see in the next installment of the 28 years trilogy next year. I can't wait to see it. Makes me look forward to seeing 28 Years Later Part 2 next year. Really can't wait for that. Yeah, overall, I loved it. 9.5 out of 10 or an A. It's one of my favorite movies I've seen this year so far. I definitely recommend giving this one a watch. Please watch this one. Oh my God.
And we'll talk about another Petrol movie next year, maybe even both, but we'll see.
And let me just say this right now to the people bullying Pedro Pascal. Grow up.
Indeed. Next, we have Pixar's latest Elio. And similar to Brave or The Good Dinosaur, this has been under production hell to the point of switching directors right in the middle. And the fact that the final result ended up being this decent is a miracle in of itself. Coming from Pixar, there is some colorful animation and world building, and some good voice acting too. And the story lends itself to some funny and heartfelt moments. However, it's a tad convoluted, just a little bit, which one can tell was rewritten to death. There's a handful of cliches, especially in the first act. But other than that, it's still a cute little addition to the Pixar catalog, and arguably a better Lilo and Stitch remake than the real one, so seal of approval.
Okay, that's stupid. That's the shittiest reason to hate this movie. Anyway, I gotta be honest here. I thought it was all right. It's decent. It's a decent movie. Like the animation is great. It's nicely directed. The voice acting was very good. The musical score, and so was the musical score. And the ending was surprisingly fantastic and saved this from being either mediocre or one of Pixar's worst films. And it does deliver a very good message too. Unfortunately, but what kept it from being what made this a downgrade compared to what made this my least favorite of the Pixar films I've seen this decade so far, especially compared to like Soul, Luca, Turning Red, Lightyear, and
Inside Out 2, Elemental.
Thank you. Elemental and Inside Out 2 was that the first act was so frustrating. Like, the kid was like being like, I understand he lost his parents, so it's really hard to like get over some things, but the kid was acting like a brat to his aunt, especially in this one piece of dialogue where he tells her, where after he gets confronted by his aunt for doing something wrong, he then tells her, "You're not my family." Like, kid, what is wrong with you?
Hey, at least I'll take this post-traumatic brain as compared to Nani's in the remake.
Oh, same here. The story felt like something I've seen a dozen times before. And while it had solid dialogue, the script could have used some improvement on the characterization, since it felt inconsistent at times. The pacing felt wonky at times, and admittedly, there were some editing choices that did feel a bit off at times. But other than that, it's a decent film. But it's definitely my least favorite of the Pixar films I've seen this decade so far. I'll take Lightyear and Elemental any day over this. 6 out of 10 or B-. Not a bad movie, but just not a bad movie at all. It's a decent one, but it's not something I'll probably see myself watching again.
And speaking of animated movies that came out the same day, K-pop Demon Hunters. And this is the latest Sony film to get inexplicably dumped onto Netflix. The animation that's just as fluent as ever releases some funny expressions on the main girls. There's some solid voice acting and some fun musical and action sequences. However, I felt there should be some slow moments and a few transitions feel a bit rushed. Few jokes didn't really land. It was a tad preachy on the anti-prejudice message, and the third act especially had too many cliches for my taste. But it's still a fun little animated film for anime fans and Western fans alike, so seal of approval.
You know, as much as I didn't love Elio, as much as I didn't love Elio, at least it was a lot better compared to this piece of shit that I'm going to talk about next. As if one shitty film wasn't bad enough for me to rant, let alone 2 or 3. How about number 4? Ladies and gentlemen, it's Bride Hard.
This director went from the original Tomb Raider movie and the only good Expendables movie to this.
I don't even need to explain what the plot is about, especially given the fact that, well, we are already in a bad position, given the fact that Rebel Wilson is in it. And Rebel Wilson, listen, I have nothing against Rebel Wilson. I do think she can be funny in some points, but the problem is that even in the last few years, she's been playing the same goddamn character. Especially in the last decade, she's been playing the same goddamn character, the same Amy character over and over and over again. And this is no exception.
And especially considering nowadays, for every Isn't It Romantic or Jojo Rabbit, there's a Hustle or the infamous Cats.
I'll say this: it's not as bad as The Hustle or Cats, but it's still fucking terrible. The story was an inept mess. The screenplay, my God, was it atrocious. Especially since not only do you have the characters come across as being one-dimensional and obnoxious, but also had terrible dialogue and the tone being so all over the place where it can't decide if it wants to be an action film or a comedy film. The directing was a muddled mess. The acting was terrible. Rebel Wilson and Anna Camp are both absolutely obnoxious in this movie. Like, my God, I did not buy for 1 second that these two were friends. There's no chemistry with either of them whatsoever. Meanwhile, you have Stephen Dorff, Davine Joy Randolph, and Anna Chlumsky all being horribly wasted in this movie. The soundtrack was obnoxious. The cinematography was bland. It's clumsily edited. The pacing was all over the place. It's also really predictable when it came to some of the elements shown in the film. And the jokes, my God, did they feel juvenile and idiotic as hell. Like there's some shoehorn in references that like either don't make any sense or are just there just for the sake of it. Like, oh my God. This is how bad the jokes. Like, this is how bad some of the jokes are in the film. Like I wrote this. Like there's a scene where they're in a strip club, and then all of a sudden, the three Viking guys, the Viking strippers, as they're feeling Anna Camp's character, they're saying, "Did you feel Thor's hammer? Get it? Because it's Thor and it's a Viking. Get it? Do you get it, you stupid audience?"
This movie seriously makes Thor Love and Thunder look like Thor Ragnarok.
Like, seriously. And there's even some really bad jokes. And there's really some really bad dialogue with the jokes. Like, how about this, for example? Well, I have to go because those penis straws aren't going to suck themselves. Or Sam-a-lama ding dong. Or how about, oh, Sam, you're alone. Oh, no, I have my emotional boost to support. Well, I do love cleavage. Of course, I'm allergic to Seth. I'm allergic to latex, which means I can't ever have safe sex. And then there's this one scene where she pretends to be a cat because she's like some type of cat person. I'm not sure. Her character's is like a cat lover. Yeah. Like, there's this one scene where she does this. Like, she does this to the table. She's like licking it, and I'm like, oh my God, is this juvenile or what? Or how about this? I look like Ariana Grande has joined the Real Housewives. Oh! Like, seriously, if some of the dialogue and jokes right there aren't proof to how juvenile they felt, then I don't know what is. And even the action sequences aren't that exciting either. Yeah, the choreography is solid, but what ruins it is the lack of tension and our stake. Especially when there's this one chase sequence. There's this one really shitty chase sequence, and it has some of the worst green screen effects I've probably seen in a movie. Like, look at this. Just hold on. Let me flip this over. Like, look at this. Like, really? Yeah, this is one of the worst films of this year so far. Yeah, one of the worst films of this year so far. And with that, it is getting my 4. 0 out of 10 or an F. Boo! Fuck this movie. Fuck this movie. Fuck it straight to hell with a dirty dick.
All right, we're at the final stretch in terms of the first half of this year, and our next movie is F1. And Justice Kosinski's spiritual successor to Top Gun Maverick fails to do to Days of Thunder what that movie did to the first Top Gun. It's well acted and shot. There's some good music and racing sequences, even if it didn't do anything new to the genre, and it especially didn't need to be 2.5 hours, with the middle part especially being dragged. It's still fun enough racing movie worth recommending, so seal of approval.
Yeah, that was one of my problems. Yeah, I agree with you that it didn't really need to be like 2.5 hours long. And my other problem with the film is that it can feel a bit predictable at times, and with what happens. And did we really need a romantic subplot that goes nowhere? But other than that, this is one of the better films of this year so far. The story had me invested throughout. It's the writing's very good. It's well directed. The acting was great. Brad Pitt was brilliant. Carrie Condon was brilliant. Javier Bardem was great. Everybody was fantastic. The score was brilliant. Hans Zimmer's score was fantastic. The cinematography was brilliant. It's nicely paced throughout. It's very well edited, and the racing sequences, wow. How they were edited, how they were done, and how they were edited and directed, fantastic. And the way it ended too felt very satisfying. Yeah, one of the better films of this year so far. 9 out of 10 or an A-. I'm not ready to give it a 9.5 yet, since I still had some reservations with the runtime and its predictability. But like I said before, it's one of the better films to come out this year so far. I really, really liked it.
Finally, take our last drink, because this is our last disagreement this episode.
Oh boy.
M3gan 2.0. Now, I know a lot of people don't even like this one, even fans of the first one, but personally, I think I like this one a bit better than the first one. Now, I will admit that the original was more simple and had a more concise story, and this one was a bit convoluted in the third act and hammered in the second chance message a bit much. However, I did appreciate that it went in a different direction, making it more of a sci-fi action than horror, much like Terminator 2 did. The effects are just as good as the original. The action's a ton of fun.
I agree with the effects. I agree with that.
And the acting is great, especially from M3gan's voice actor, and there's just as much social commentary on technology as ever. Overall, I'm sad to see this underperform at the box office because I'd argue that this one is just as good, if not better, than the first one. So, seal of approval.
To me, this is a downgrade compared to the first film. You know, the first film was a great commentary, and the first film surprised the hell out of me with how much it was a great commentary on like the pros and cons involving AI, as well as like the con of children becoming too like relying too much on like electronic devices. It was a great commentary on that, and it worked as a horror film too. This though, it's like the change in tones felt so jarring and uneven, and that's one of my biggest problems with the writing of this. That's one of my biggest problems with the writing in Megan 2.0. How sloppy the writing felt. Like the messy characterization and clunky dialogue are two things. But it's another when the tonal shifts are so inconsistent and jarring to the point where you can't even tell what they were even trying to achieve with this. It's clumsily directed. The story was all over the place. The pacing was a sluggish mess. Oh yeah, and another problem with the writing too, and why this fails so much. It relied way too much on like exposition. Like it felt the need to over explain itself because it thinks the audience are not going to get it. Newsflash, we know what's going on. You don't need to over explain it so much. The action's not that exciting. And it thinks it's so clever. It's so clever with its snarky humor, when in reality, it's cynical. It's nothing more than a cynical exercise. The only thing and don't even get me started on the villain, by the way. Like when it came to the twist villain in the film, it couldn't have felt any more obvious, especially with how it over-explains itself. Also, what kid in the new generation can understand who the hell Steven Seagal even is? I mean, I know who Steven Seagal is, but what kid in the new generation is going to understand that?
Yeah, I know who Steven Seagal is. An inadequate, pretentious action star.
Exactly. Now, there are some good things in it. I will say it. But now, I will say this. Most of the acting was good. It's got a good score and great cinematography, and the effects are very good. But other than that, this is a terrible sequel and a huge downgrade compared to the first film. Megan 2.0, more like Megan minus 2.0. 3 out of 10 or D+. Even if you really like the first Megan, I would not waste your time with this one because this was a mess.
Finally,
and by the way, another stinker from Bumhouse this year. First Wolfman and now this.
Finally, my pick of the show. Now, before Alex Proyas purchased his career with Gods of Egypt, he was making cult classic after cult classics, such as iRobot, The Crow, and this show's pick, Dark City.
Dark City was fantastic.
The mystery involving an amnesiac man who tries to figure out both his identity and the world he found himself in is well acted by the likes of Rufus Sewell and William Hurt, and it's also got stunning production design, cinematography, and music, as well as a plot with twists and turns at the wazoo, as long as you watch the director's cut. You can see why a lot of people said this movie walks so the Matrix could run, because this is a movie that bombed at first but slowly got more attention as time went on, to the point where it's become a staple in 90s science fiction. As for my dog of the show, boy. Of all movies, I chose as my 3000th movie on Letterboxd. Now, I'm sure you've heard so much shit about this particular movie, so I'll just say this. The movie, I guess, has a funny enough premise. Zac Efron plays a wimp who has to look over his grandpa Robert De Niro, who teaches him to grow a bone, have fun, and not give a shit. But it's all about execution.
Oh my god.
And the execution is some of the most mean-spirited shit I've ever seen in my life. Not a single person in this movie is likable. It's all just 102 minutes of everyone shitting all over Zac Efron for no reason.
Dirty grandpa. Dirty grandpa. Fuck this movie.
Everyone just shits all over Zac Efron for no reason, from his grandpa to his fiance to even the fucking cops. It's the kind of shit that makes
no sense. The cops were stupid. This might be the worst cops I've ever seen in a film.
It's the kind of shit that makes No Such Luck look lighthearted. It also has some of the worst comedic timing I've ever seen in a movie like this.
There's even this one scene. By the way, it's also my dog too. There's even this one scene where one morning Zac Efron's character wakes up butt naked and he has a fuzzy toy bee covering his penis, and then here comes this kid. He notices a fuzzy toy bee as he's chatting with his friends in a voice chat. And then all of a sudden, the kid is like, "Hey, can I touch that fuzzy toy bee?" And then Zac Efron's character says no, but then he touches it anyway. And then This is borderline child pornography.
Especially when it has such scenes as, and I promise I'm not making this up, Robert De Niro jacking off in front of his grandson. Then you have him and the college chicks he hooks up with leaving jack off on the beach with, as Nick pointed out, nothing but a bumblebee plus as something as coverage, which leads him getting arrested for public indecency in front of a young boy, hijacking his Wayne
Which made no sense!
Hijacking his Wayne Falls slideshow with these disgusting photos, and then he got whatever the fuck that ending was. Before I saw this movie, I've heard nothing but the worst things about this movie, and even then, nothing could have prepared me for how incredibly irredeemable this movie was. There is literally no reason to see this movie other than if you're a masochist, I suppose.
Give me Jack and Jill any day over this fucking piece of shit!
Indeed.
And you know what? I never thought I would have to quote something from Jack and Jill. But this is my message to the idiots that made this movie. Idiots like you really make me mad! You know what? Movie 43 was bad, but at least it had the Terrence Howard skit, which was surprisingly okay. Dirty Grandpa had no redeeming things in it. You know what? I take back what I said when I said the 50 Shades trilogy was the worst movie I saw from the last decade. This is the worst film of the last decade.
Yeah,
Fuck this movie. Fuck it straight to hell with a dirty motherfucking dick.
Indeed.
Oh my god. This is like, I might as well bring this sound clip one last time. And this is a rare rating. I rarely give this rating, but given how much Søren and I hated this piece of shit so much, Dirty Grandpa is, there's a reason Dirty Grandpa is Søren and I's dog in the show. Because it fucking sucks. It's insulting. It's offensive for the sake of being offensive. It's racist. It's sexist. It's misogynistic. It's unfunny. And it is, without a doubt, one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life. Like, this is in my top 10 worst films of all time list. That's how bad.
And the fact that this got 0 Razzies, and yet that Hillary's America documentary and BVS won all the Razzies is an absolute crime.
Batman v Superman is a better film.
At least that movie tried.
Exactly. This didn't. It is that movie was everything wrong with the Razzies when that received zero awards. Yeah. If you haven't guessed already, there was a reason. It's not just a 0 out of 10. It was a -1 out of 10. And it's earning the rare burn in hell rating. Fuck this movie. Ooh! And yeah, really, it was. All right, I think we're worn out now from having to talk about the foul stench of Dirty Grandpa, as well as like mentioning like the disagreements. Yeah, really, fuck this movie up its own fucking ass. Anyway, thank you guys for watching tonight's podcast. It was a lot of fun doing this show. Despite some disagreements, but hey, that's the whole part to stick at the show.
Yeah.
And And as always, be sure to subscribe to Søren Saunders on his YouTube channel. The link is in the description below. Give him the love he deserves. He's a very talented person and a very good reviewer. And after the show, I'm going to try to put the description of the Popcorn Panel podcast on there too. Seriously, you guys should check out the podcast. It's really good. And we will see you all next week for when Søren and I look at the 6th July films and a couple of August films, as well as us covering the worst and best films of 2025 so far lists. And until next time. So yeah, stay tuned next time for that. And until then, I'm gonna end off the podcast like I usually do. Thanks for watching tonight's podcast, and we will see you all again next time.